Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. Today, we have the lovely Natashka, all the way from Portland, joining us today. So, it's funny because before COVID happened, I was supposed to do a Portland mini-series. I was supposed to go down to Portland, interview a bunch of different strippers and sex workers down there. But alas, as you may know, COVID hit. It is still here. The borders are not opening up anytime soon. So, yeah. So, I had to reach out and get Natashka to speak on the show on the very, very, very important topic of substance abuse and addiction within the stripper community and also within sex work. So, that was a long-winded introduction. Natashka, are you there?
I'm still here.
Yay.
And that wasn't very long-winded, so.
Okay. Sometimes I just ramble. Also, I'm Steph, your host, aka Kimchi. I always forget to introduce myself in every episode. Hello. But yeah, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. It's a hard topic, of course, because this is obviously something that's very, very personal to you. But yes, but I also think it's also important and responsible to share your story because there's probably so many others that are suffering as well or struggling. Mm-hmm. So it's important that we talk about that. But yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, we couldn't meet in Portland, but we are here. But we met, was it a couple years ago, I think?
Yeah, it was at least a couple years ago.
A couple years ago. So you are a Russian pole dancer.
Yes, I am.
Yes, the lovely studio that actually, I think it's like one of the only studios that only specializes in Russian-style exotic dance, and that is Kiska. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so Kiska was started by my best friend Lauren and Krista.
Cool.
Oh my God, like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Is it really?
It's been that long.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they started the space as like a jam session, just so that they could go in and practice. And then everybody was just like, hey, like I want to take classes. And so then they were like, well, let's actually, open up a studio. Now I can't, give them their full story because maybe I don't know all of it. But for the most part, I know the whole thing.
I'll have to have Lauren on the show at some point.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the funny thing is how I found Kiska was me and another stripper. We were like, hey, like, let's get really good on the pole. Like, let's go start taking classes. And I looked up 2. And I was just like, okay, whichever one calls me back first, that's the studio we're going to go with. And Kiska called me back first, which I can't even tell you how grateful and thankful I am that they called me back first.
There you go. That's the story of how you started.
That is the. I was like, all right, whichever one calls me back first.
As simple as that.
Yeah, and then, like, I started in the studio, because, like, before I went to the studio, I was just like, no, I'm hot shit. Like, I've got this. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then I went to the studio, and I was just like, oh, my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Teach me everything you know.
That's so amazing. Like, I honestly, I think a lot of people have the same mentality. Like, nah, we don't need lessons. Like, I got this. I'm a natural. And then you go and you're like, I don't know anything.
Yeah. Because I had definitely felt like the reason why I wanted to start taking classes was I had felt like I had, like I worked with so many amazing dancers. Like, it was insane. Like, I would watch these girls and, like, I would go around to the tables and be like, you need to tip her. She's amazing.
Telling it like it is.
Yeah, and so, like, I felt like I was kind of hitting this plateau a little bit, and so that's why I wanted to go into the studio. And then when I realized, oh, I ain't shit, I gotta take so many lessons, so then I just delved full into the studio, and then I discovered Russian exotic.
Yes.
And, like, actually dancing in heels, because before I went to the studio, I was I was the girl in the Vans. That was kind of my thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was for
What?
like, yeah, so I was a dancer for, or a stripper for almost 6 years.
Yeah.
And my very first 2 years, I strictly wore Vans.
What? I cannot, like, that would not fly up here in Canada. Like, no. That's
There,
amazing.
there are a lot of clubs here in Portland that they're like, heels only. And when I was, the club that I was at, they were like, yeah, as long as you don't wear fur or leather, you're good to go.
So you're like, Vans is my shoe of choice. That's awesome. And of course, if you guys are listening, Portland is obviously very, very well known for its strippers, or being the stripper capital of the USA, maybe of the world. Who knows? It is pretty amazing. There are a lot of strip clubs down there.
There are so many strip clubs. It's almost like Starbucks.
You're kind of correct in that. So
Yeah.
Like, how did you? Okay, so backwards. Let's go backwards. How did you get involved in stripping?
So, so I was working at Jack in the Box.
Okay. Love that place. Oh my God. When I down in the States, I love Jack in the Box.
They were delicious. But my ex-girlfriend at the time, she had just turned 21, and my friends Steven and Brandon were like, oh my God, you guys are both 21 now. We got to go to a strip club.
Classic.
And we went. I got rather drunk, but as you do.
As you should.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, A, people are throwing money at you, and B, I was just like watching the dancing, and I was just like, this is a whole new world. Like, I had no idea that this existed.
Yeah. It's a totally different world, for sure.
Yeah, and so then I looked at my buddy, and I was just like, I want to do this. And he immediately gets up, goes and talks to the manager, and he comes back and he's like, all right, you have an audition tomorrow at 2.
What? Just like that. Oh, wow.
Just like that. And I was just like, oh, all right. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? I'll do it. I'll go audition. There's no way that they're going to hire me. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before in my life. But, it'll be a fun story to say I auditioned to be a stripper.
Okay.
And so I go to my audition. I'm like panicking. I'm like, what do I wear? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do in a stripper audition?
Right? What? Now I've got okay, this is what you do, A, B, and C.
Right.
But then I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to dance like the night before. Like, I asked my girlfriend to sit in a chair. And I was just like, you're going to be a customer. We're going to practice my audition.
I love that.
And then, I did my 3-song stage set, and the guy was just like, and the funny thing is he was opening the club up. Like, I remember him, bringing a mop through the club and, casually looking at me and then not looking at me. And
That's so funny.
I get done with my 3-song set, and then he comes back and he's like, okay, so we have an opening. Do you want to just stay the rest of the day?
What?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Seriously? And did you stay?
I did stay. I called into my shift at Jack in the Box, and I stayed.
Oh, fuck. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was so nerve-wracking. And, I remember, I went and, sat at this one girl's stage and, tipped her. And she's probably thinking, what the hell is this girl doing? She works here. Why is she sitting at my stage? And then the manager comes by, and it's she's brand new. Show her some tricks and show her the ropes. And the girl was so sweet. She was like, oh, well, here's your money back.
Oh my God. That's the sweetest.
And she taught me a lot. That first month of me dancing, I was glued to her. I was just teach me everything you know, teach me about like how to like sell lap dances. Oh, also when I first started, my ex-girlfriend was very clear. She was just like, no lap dances. And I was just like, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, you can dance on stage, you can get naked, but no lap dances. And I was totally fine with that.
Okay.
And so like that type of like hustle, I didn't really learn right at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a lot to learn too, as well.
Yeah. It's so much to learn. And I remember I was like, my first day, this construction worker comes in and he puts down $6, and I was just like, oh my God, he just gave me $6. I'm so rich.
That's so cute. That's such a good story. Wow.
Right? And I told him, I was like, it's my very first day. He's like, ever? And I was just like, yeah. He's like, well, be prepared for people to not tip you like I just did. And I was like, okay, I'll remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
lots of people not tipping.
Right. Right.
That's a thing.
I was just like, that was my thing. I would tell everybody, I was just like, I'm brand new.
That'd be your shtick for like
it was my
a
shtick,
year.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That is how I got started. And then I was dancing at this one club, and everybody at that club told me to go to the club that I ended up dancing at for nearly 6 years.
Okay.
I still can't believe it's been 6 years. That's so crazy to think.
Time flies.
It does fly.
Time flies when you're making money, so.
Right?
Yeah.
But my grandma had come up, and I was very adamant of not telling her.
Okay.
Because I have a cousin that used to be a dancer, and I just remember her being like, I can't believe she's doing that, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And so my grandma came up to visit me, and I stopped dancing for like a month and a half. And then finally I was just like, I miss dancing so much. That was so much fun. So then I went to the club that I danced at for almost 6 years, and the rest is history.
Oh my gosh. There we go. Such a story. Oh my gosh. And each club in Portland is kind of different. Like each club has like their own kind of like unique style and stuff too. Oh, yeah. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. Like some tried to be like Vegas.
Yes.
We definitely have a lot more like rockabilly clubs. I think that's how you say it.
Something like that.
So that was one thing that I definitely felt like stood out to being in, stood out for Portland.
Yeah.
And girls covered in tattoos.
Yes.
We have one burlesque club, which it was always my dream to dance there.
Okay.
But my audition that I did there, I tripped, and they were like, yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, that's so unfortunate.
I know.
Oh, fuck. That's okay, though. That's okay. You know what?
Yes.
You had a long stint because, like, you're not dancing anymore. Which we'll get into that story real soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So another thing I want to bring up too, which is kind of a sidebar as well, but obviously I want to kind of highlight the political climate. God, I cannot talk today. The political climate in Portland right now. So, I mean, we are recording this in August by the time this is released. Hopefully the climate will kind of calm down a little bit. So, but basically, and I know I'm not crazy about politics, but I try to keep myself educated and also, in the know as well. But I mean, with the whole BLM movement, there's been a whole kind of like explosion of protests that's been happening down there, which is still happening at the time of recording, as you mentioned, pre-recording. So if you guys aren't aware too, basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trump sent in a bunch of like federal forces, I guess for like riot control, some kind of protection or something. I don't even actually know why he sent these people in, but
I'm not 100% sure on why he sent them in either.
Yeah.
As far as I know, though, they are gone.
They are gone. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. Because
yes.
I remember seeing some videos online of them snatching people off the street, and people are not exactly knowing where they're going, and kind of like silently detaining them, which is super freaky and totally weird. So what's happening right now too, because I know you mentioned before we recorded, you kind of drove by the area where the protests are happening, and you said it's still active?
They're still active, like, in it. Like, driving by, like, I'll admit, like, I was expecting a little bit more, like chaos. But it was peaceful.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they were just sitting there with signs and, you know, being like, nope, this is what we're doing. This is what we're speaking for. So it was actually good to see, like, in person, like, oh, they're not just rioting and looting.
Yeah. Which also happened, though, too.
That was the very first, like,
first run. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but obviously it's great to hear that things have calmed down. It sounds like, at least. So hopefully by the time this gets released, maybe there won't be much going on anymore, hopefully. But we'll see. There's a lot of things happening in America right now that I'm just watching on the news and kind of keeping up with, or barely keeping up with, to be honest. It's just crazy. And of course, what about COVID? How is it down there? Because I know that Portland was a hot spot for COVID too at some point.
Yeah, no, COVID's been, like, the masks are mandated.
Yeah.
Which it's not funny, but it's funny. I know. It's like, you know, with my current job, we're required to wear masks, and I feel naked without it now.
Yeah.
So, but no, like, you know, I definitely feel that, like, you know, like, I wear the mask just to protect everybody around me. It's not to really protect me, it's to protect others around me.
Yeah.
You know, like, I do work in a essential job where I see hundreds of people a day.
Right.
So
yeah, it's definitely to your benefit. So guys, wear a mask even here in Vancouver, Canada. And yeah, it's like phase 3. Like, most things are pretty much open here, but it's like the cases are going back up again. I think there's like 146 cases the other day. And yeah, like, which is crazy because there used to only be like 20. And then long weekend parties happen, and obviously summertime, everyone wants to be outside. But yeah, the cases have started to go up again, which is kind of upsetting. So I'm just kind of starting to, like, slowly retreat back into my apartment again. And, like, see you guys. Bye. Okay, cool. So I just really wanted to mention that part because I think it's really important. But
yeah,
obviously the main focus of this episode is addiction, substance abuse, and whatnot, and how that relates to your stripping story. Because, again, I don't really know much about it, but I believe that they are intertwined. So if we can...
They definitely are intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we can pivot the conversation to that'd be awesome. And I honestly don't really know much about your story, so I'm going to let you take the reins here. Where do you want to start?
So let's see. Where do we begin? Yeah, like, I danced for 6 years, and it was really the last year where things became... 2019 was not a good year.
Okay. It was a shit show for me too, but I need to hear your story.
Yes. So let's back it up. So it was definitely coke that, you know, was my issue.
Okay.
This is probably going to be a cop-out answer, and that's totally fine. But sometimes I think, so I first did coke with one of my really good friends. He unfortunately died in a car accident.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
So, like, there would be moments where I'd be like, am I just doing this so I can feel connected to him?
Oh no.
Which, again, is the total cop-out answer. Like, I loved coke. It was an amazing drug. It's bad, but it was so amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I first tried it with him. And then, like, I mean... Unfortunately, the stereotype is a little true. Like, you go to a strip club and you can find coke pretty much anywhere.
Right.
And so, like, my first whatchamacallit, like first like couple of months at this new club, I found some and I was just like, oh my God, I forgot what this was like. This is amazing. Woo!
Woo! Party!
And my boyfriend at the time, he had found out that I had done some, and I remember him saying, I don't want my future wife to be a cokehead, and that really stuck with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, I'm never gonna touch this stuff again. Like, I'm good. And so then I stopped for like 5 years.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. In terms of a timeline, is this like in the beginning of when you started your stripping career, or like where it is? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you stopped for a bit after you said, hey, I don't want my future wife to be a cokehead.
Yeah.
So you're like,
that
okay.
really like meant something to me. I was just like, oh my gosh, like this could actually affect you.
That's a big statement, because you are like affecting other people too, right? It's not just yourself. But
and so then we broke up, and like, you know what? He'll never listen to this, so I'm going to say everything.
Say it all.
He, like, we would do, like board game sessions. Like, okay, no, we wouldn't do board game sessions. We would play D&D together.
Okay.
And I'll admit, like, I had a little bit of a hard time focusing. Like, I had, like, friends texting me. I had things that I wanted to be doing. Like, I loved the game, but it was just, I had things that I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
And so he would give me Adderall, so I would focus.
Oh, okay. Okay. Another layer to this story. Okay.
Yes, that was definitely the start, was him giving me Adderall.
Okay.
And so, you know, he'd give me the Adderall, and then I realized that I could use Adderall to clean the house. I could use Adderall to organize my bedroom. I could use Adderall to do everything.
Yeah.
And so we broke up, and then I met this guy who he would just give me so much Adderall. Like,
oh my gosh.
So much.
Uh-oh.
And like we would just go on like benders of just drinking and doing Adderall. And since I wasn't with my ex anymore, like I no longer had that I don't want my future wife thing in my head anymore.
Yeah, you didn't have that guilt kind of overhanging you. Yeah.
I didn't have any of that guilt. And so, you know, being with this guy, it was the first time where, not saying that my ex is unattractive, but it was the first time that I had been with somebody who was so hot. Like, he was so hot. And, you know, and it's like he was hot. He thought I was hot. We did drugs together. And so it was just like this whole thing. And then...
yeah, okay.
It kind of made me realize, I was like, I think I'm, like, at the time, I was like, I think I might have a little bit of a drug problem. That's,
oops. Yeah, oops. Like, when did you come to that realization? Like, how far or how long were you doing Adderall and, like, also just drinking and mixing that all together?
Yeah, only about, like, 2 months.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Don't worry. There is more to the story.
But there's more. Oh, my gosh. 2 months and you're already, you realized, okay, I'm addicted at this point. Holy crap, that moves fast.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, like, because I had met him at the strip club.
Okay.
And then, like, I, you know, was, like, trying to steer clear of Adderall. And then just one day, all of a sudden, I don't even remember the day. I just remember I started Coke again.
Okay. So there's a lot of things in this story here. So I'm hearing Adderall, a kind of dependency on Adderall. I'm hearing alcohol is also mixed in there too. And then Coke is laced in with that as well. But also your environment is also, you have access to all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay. So lots of layers here. Whoa. Okay. So continue.
So yeah, like, like so my ex-boyfriend is the bouncer at the club that I used to work at.
Okay.
And, like during the time when I was clean, he would just tell me who was doing coke in the bathroom.
Wow.
And so once we broke up, like I searched those people out, and I was just like, hey, let's party. Let's do some drugs.
Yeah, totally. Was this on shift or was this like outside of work?
This was so on shift.
Okay. Interesting.
It's like I would walk into the bathroom and there'd be like 5 or 6 people in there just waiting for the stall so that we could all party together.
Yeah, have some fun. Right.
And it definitely started out as, okay, like I'll do it at work. It did loosen me up and it made me want to talk with people more. It definitely like kind of helped. Also, I just loved it.
Period.
I mean, that's the bottom line is I loved cocaine and it was my choice of drug and it was amazing. But then, obviously we'll talk about recovery a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. Because cocaine, that's an upper. That's just everything. You're in a good mood, if everything's great, you're at the top of the world and stuff like that, right, too. So, okay.
Oh, yeah. And then, so like I started doing it at work and I made some friends that I probably shouldn't have been friends with because they definitely kind of added to my addiction.
Okay. In what way would they add to your addiction?
Like, one friend lived like 2 blocks away from me.
Oh my gosh.
So I would just go over to her house for days on end and we would just stay up and do lots of coke.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Okay. So not particularly good people to be surrounded with, but good people to party with.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
And then, so yeah, it started as like, oh, I would just do some at work. And then like I would, save it for the next time. Like I remember the very first bag of drugs that I actually bought. It lasted me 3 weeks.
Whoa.
Whoa. Because I was only just using it at work. And then like once I bought the next baggie, like that only lasted me like a week.
Oh, wow.
And then the more I kept buying, the less they lasted.
Right.
And, well, where was I going with that?
That's okay. Take a minute if you need to like gather your thoughts. This is like such a huge part of your life and also a huge and personal story. So yeah, take as much time as you need.
Yeah, so like each baggie would last littler and littler. Yeah, and then like I met this guy who I thought I was going to marry him, but obviously I didn't, and thank God I didn't.
In hindsight, you're like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. I also met him at work, and we just started bonding over all of the drugs that we had done.
Right. You were connected that way.
We were connected that way, and then he does not live in the States, so he would fly in to see me, and we would just stay in a hotel room for like 2 days and just drink and do copious amounts of coke.
Right.
And then like I had some, because like I was functioning. I'm going to say functioning. I probably wasn't. Like looking back, I probably wasn't, but I like to consider that I was a functioning cokehead and like had my stuff together and was doing okay. And then I had something happen around my birthday that like sent me into like an emotional turmoil, and I just was using so much, like even more so than I was before.
Oh, wow.
I weighed like 98 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really bad. And yeah, and then something just kind of clicked where I was just like, I think I need to go to rehab.
Yeah. Like what was that tipping point for you, or like when did you draw the line then? So like when did you realize that? Was there like a defining moment at all, or was it just like...
There was a little bit of a defining moment. It was when I realized that my actions were affecting those around me.
Okay.
Like...
In what capacity, if you don't mind me asking?
Just, like, how much it was affecting, like, my work friends, like, because they started... Like, I remember I had one hit me up, and they're like, I feel like you're only talking to me so that you can get more coke.
Oh.
Like... You know, like, I had several people come up to me and be like, I'm worried about you. Like, you're not looking so good. Like, you probably think you look like hot shit right now, but you don't look like hot shit.
Okay, so you had some people that were, you know, kind of being like, hey, you might need some help.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good at least. So, okay,
yeah.
So you came to that point then.
Yeah, that was January 1st of this year, actually.
Oh, wow. Super recent.
Super recent,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of this, a lot of the turmoil was happening, yeah, as you said, in 2019. And then, I guess, fast forward now to January, so...
Yeah, so January, like, I realized that I needed to check into rehab, so I had... This is so bad.
What?
But I had a big old pile of coke and was like, all right, this is going to be my last hurrah. I'm going to find a rehab center. I'm going to do all this coke, and then I'm going to go to rehab.
Oh, my gosh.
And one thing that really sucks about, I mean, not to, you know, get into, like, our healthcare system or whatever, but it was so hard trying to find someplace.
Really?
It was excruciating because I made too much to qualify for our healthcare.
Okay.
I wasn't dependent upon opioids, so they didn't think that I was a high enough risk to just, like, be there.
Okay.
And so it was just like, or if I wanted to go to rehab, it was going to cost me like $18,000.
Oh, God.
That's so much money.
That's so much. So I didn't realize for rehab centers that there are those certain requirements and those barriers.
Yeah, that was definitely hard. And I, you know, am sitting here, granted, I'm still doing coke. I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, I just want to get help. Like, how can I not get help right now? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And, like, I've tried a couple meetings, but I just felt like that system just didn't work for me.
Okay, yeah.
And then fast forward, like, 2 months, I was doing really good. Like, I was only using occasionally. And then the turning point was I drank, and I did some Molly. And
Whoa.
I was, pardon my language, but I was a shit show.
That's okay. You could definitely swear in the podcast.
Okay, I was so fucked up. I was out of my mind. And my current boyfriend, which I'm super grateful and super thankful for, he's amazing, had to pick me up. And he took me home to my apartment, which was disgusting at the time because, well, I was just a cokehead. He took me home and, like, I slept it off. And then the next day he came and picked me up and we were just going to go get something to eat. Like, I didn't really, like, I knew I was going to have to apologize for the night before. But just seeing, like, this look of fear in his eyes, I was just like, oh my God, why haven't I seen this look before? Like, if I would have seen this look from anybody else, I probably would have stopped sooner. But
really? So he just looked like disappointed, or?
It was disappointed, it was worry, it was fear, it was all of these things. And it was heartbreaking.
Right.
To see him that way, and I was just like, yep, I'm never going to use again.
Wow. Wow, yeah, that's pretty powerful, you know. When people are concerned for you, they don't necessarily have to say something to you, but as you mentioned there with your boyfriend, just that look can just be enough. That says enough, right?
Yeah, that look with everything. Like, anytime I think about using again or, you know, finding Adderall, I just think back to that look, and I'm like, nope.
Not doing it.
Nope. not doing it.
Yeah.
No matter how much I want to, I've worked a lot of days this past week, and it's just, I'm like, I could get through this if I had some Coke.
Wow. Okay, so that happened. What were your steps to recovery then? Like how did that work in like finding your sobriety?
Honestly, I went cold turkey.
Wow. That's incredibly strong of you. How, especially when you're fighting addiction, like how much of a struggle was that? Like how challenging was that for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so challenging. And like I had my best friend, because I'm in therapy. Mm-hmm. Yay, mental health.
Yes, 100%.
And he was just like, because, I was just like, I just want to use again. I just want to use again. And he was just like, what is something that would make you never want to use again? And I said, losing my best friend. And he was just like, then you need to tell her that. And so I sat her down and I was like, look, I need you to tell me that if I use again, you will no longer be my best friend.
Oh, wow.
I do very well with ultimatums.
I was going to say, like, that is a pretty big ultimatum.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, like, anytime that I have, like, a moment of feeling like I want to use, like, I'll reach out to her or I'll reach out to my boyfriend, and I'm just like, wait, nope. Because he's even kind of mentioned, he's just like, I don't know what I would do if you used again. Yeah. And so it's just, I have these two people in my life that I care so deeply about that drugs are not worth losing either of them.
Totally. And you know what? I actually forgot to ask you, like, sorry, we have to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
But right before we dive into the conversation about recovery, but how did your substance abuse and your addiction, how is that interlaced with the industry? Because I know that you were surrounded by the accessibility of drugs and drug users and stuff too. Because obviously when you were recovering, you also left the industry as well. You left stripping. Mm-hmm. So I forgot to mention that part, but if you don't mind going into that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I was making so much money. It was stupid.
Did you miss the money?
And so, like, I was making all this money, and, like, drug dealers would come in, and so it would just be, like, I had the money, I had access, it was just, I mean, I could hit up a drug dealer, and they would meet me at the club.
Yeah.
And so it was just, like, I was making all the money, I worked with a bunch of people who used as well, drug dealers would come in, and it was so accessible, and it was just so, it almost felt like it's not the right thing to do, but it felt like it was the right thing to be doing.
Really?
Yeah, like it was, I was wearing heels, I was wearing like sexy outfits. Don't worry, this ties in, but it's just like I finally felt like I was an actual stripper.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. And
no, that makes sense.
Like the girls that don't drink and don't use and do all these things, still are strippers, I give mad props to, because I'm just like, how?
Yeah, totally. And it really feeds into the whole stereotype too that we're fed with the media, and also just historically, I guess, as well. Like, it just kind of goes hand in hand.
Oh yeah.
Right. So.
And it was tough because, like there would be like I still have her as a friend. She's also clean like I am, which is awesome.
Perfect.
We would go to work together and it'd be like, okay, tonight's the night that we're not going to use. And then sure enough, like an hour and a half later, one of us would come up to each other and be like, I had a bump. And I'd be like, yeah, so did I.
Wow, that's really hard.
Yeah.
It makes it incredibly difficult to even want to quit.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's just like, like it definitely takes, oh my God, I'm going to sound like my grandma. It's fine. It definitely it definitely takes a village to have a support system that's willing to be there for you to like help you with recovery. And not to say that none of those girls would have, not helped me, but it's just when you're using and they're using, and then you tell them that you don't want to use, it's hard to say no when you go into the bathroom.
Yeah.
That was honestly the hardest part. The hardest part was just going into the bathroom.
Wow. That's crazy. That is such a really, really, really personal story for you to share. I can't even imagine.
I don't think I've actually ever like really told that story, so thank you.
Oh, no. You're so welcome. It's really hard. Like I feel like I think things are a little bit different here in Canada, and I don't want to generalize, but in Vancouver, I don't know, all the people that I used to dance with, because I wouldn't say that I don't strip anymore, because the agency sucks, but anyways, that's another story. Can't get bookings. But like a lot of us were just sober, or at least sober while we were working. And then if we were done, then we would drink or smoke up or whatever. But
yeah.
But that's really hard.
Yeah, and let's take Coke aside, like drinking. That was another really tough one for me, because it's like not necessarily that I would get free alcohol, but customers would offer drinks nonstop. I mean, there was a while there where I was drunk before 11 p.m. and my shift started at 9.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And then I knew, like, with the drinking, I knew I had hit not necessarily rock bottom, but definitely a spot when I started buying my own alcohol.
Yeah. When you're like, okay, got to do this myself. But
yep, got to do this myself.
Totally. Damn. So when you were, okay, so I guess, I just wanted to hear a bit about that. But like, I guess when you decided that you wanted to become sober, a couple questions here. Did you end up going to rehab or no? Or not?
No, I couldn't afford it, and I didn't have health care, so it sucked because I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
I found this great one. It was so perfect in Florida.
In Florida, though.
In Florida.
Oh my
God.
God.
And they definitely didn't necessarily, because this isn't to say anything about the NA program. It's worked for, lots, like thousands and thousands of people. But it was just, I didn't want my life to become, I was addicted to Coke and then I became addicted to NA. I wanted to kind of almost cure my addictions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what this rehab facility would focus on. It was, we're not going to make you become addicted to meetings and, that sort of thing. They were going to, I don't necessarily know if you can actually cure addiction.
That's true. That's a question that's up in the air.
Yeah, but that was definitely their focus of, let's figure out the real root of why you're addicted, and then let's focus on that.
Right. But then again, one is in Florida. Two, I don't even know how much that is.
That one with the plane ticket was the $18,000 one.
Oh God, that was the $18,000 one. Jesus. Wow. Okay. So you quit everything cold turkey, and by everything,
so I didn't quit everything cold turkey. I still occasionally will have like a glass of wine.
Okay.
To like unwind from the day, and that's been actually very therapeutic.
Oh, good.
Like, I get a little bit of a buzz, and I'm just like, you know what? Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I did quit drinking like for like 4 months.
Okay. Wow.
And, no drugs, no drinking. And then just, I wanted to be, not necessarily social, but it's like I wanted to just relax and like have like a glass of wine. And I wanted to see if I could actually do it. That was the big thing, is I wanted to see if I could just have like 1 to 2.
Right.
And I can.
Yeah, and you can. There you go. What was your like biggest struggle, I guess, in your whole road to recovery?
biggest struggle was, I guess, just not relapsing. It's still my biggest struggle. It's like I've been clean 6 months.
Congratulations, by the way.
What? Oh, thank you. And that's still my biggest struggle is, it's really everywhere you look still.
Yeah.
Like, I still find it. And, like, there's been a couple times, like, I've gotten text messages from people that I used to work with and being like, hey, like, I've got some fire stuff for you. And I'm just, like, want to give into that so bad. But then, like, I think about my best friend. I think about my boyfriend. And then I also think about my job now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely just not relapsing has been the biggest struggle.
For sure.
And I guess actually also, like, cutting people out. Because, like, I had to cut out, like, a bunch of people. Because I was just like, I can't talk to you. I can't see you. I can't,
associate yourselves with those people.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally get that. Yeah, because it's just a lot of enabling attitudes too and behavior that would get you back into that vicious cycle of addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's necessary, though, I think, to cut those people out because it's just like a poison. You know what I mean?
Oh, it totally is. And I mean, honestly, like, the biggest reason why I got out of the industry was because I knew that if I stayed, I was probably going to end up dead.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I don't blame you. That's not an exaggeration.
No.
It's not. It's really real.
I was going to end up dead.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's really, really, really brave of you and super strong for you to quit on the ways that you had quit everything. And also to, cut out all those bad veins that can, feed into that addiction. And also really strong of you to come into the show and to speak about this. So important.
Well, yeah, because I was just like, I saw so many of my coworkers and fellow dancers that were slipping and, like, being exactly where I am. And so it's like, I don't know, I kind of wanted to come on and be like, hey, this is a real thing.
Totally. Absolutely.
This just isn't in the movies.
This is real. This is reality. Well, what about, I mean, that's an incredibly inspiring story as well. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
What about, like, your future goals and plans? Did you want to speak a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Do you mean, like, with recovery or just in general?
Just in general and recovery.
Well, the goal is to stay clean the rest of my life.
Yes.
Which, honestly, like, if you would have asked me, like, 2 months, like, I don't know, like 4 months ago, if I would stay clean the rest of my life, I probably would have told you no. But now I actually think I can stay clean the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great to hear.
But yeah, so, like, the job that I'm at now, it's an essential job. And it's like, I've been there 6 months and I was promoted within my first month.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Great news.
And I just got promoted again.
Wow, within 6 months? That's amazing.
It's been incredible. And it's just, I see this ladder and I just want to keep going. I want to see how high up this ladder I can go with this company.
Totally.
And so, yeah, those are definitely my goals. And it's, for a while there, I thought I was just a dancer. Like, I thought I was going to be dancing the rest of my life.
Right.
And, like, being with this company, I'm like, wait a minute, no, I'm not just a dancer. Like, I can still be a dancer. Like, I have a pole in my apartment. I still dance. I still take classes.
Yes.
And it's just so interesting to have goals that don't revolve around pole anymore. Like, I have, like, different goals, and it's so weird to have them.
It's a bit of a change, right?
It's a total change.
That's awesome to hear. Well, I cannot wait to keep up with you. So I wanted to kind of shift over to our Q&A as well, because there are a few more questions here too. So, and I feel like they're kind of like bigger questions, but you're free to answer whichever way that you please. So, given your experience, have you witnessed a lot of women get caught up in the lifestyle?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely.
100%. I got caught up in the lifestyle.
There you go.
I mean, the money, the drugs, the drinking, the partying. It just, like 2019, I partied that entire year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a nonstop party. And like, it was insane. And I thought that I was living my best life. And looking back on it, I was like, no, I was living my worst life.
Yeah. Looking back on it, right? So.
Yeah. But no, it's just definitely like, anytime I hear somebody wants to, get into the industry, I warn them. I'm like, look, like this will be a rough road.
Yeah.
And not to say that everybody's story is going to be like mine, but it's going to be a rough road, and you have to stay true to yourself. That's what I always remind women that want to get into it. I'm like, just make sure that you stay true to yourself.
100%.
And you'll be fine.
That's good advice, because, like, as you said, it's just so glamorized. It's such a high lifestyle. It's so fun, all fun, But there's also, like it can be a really, really fast downfall too if you things get out of control as well. So, which is something that we haven't really highlighted on too much on the podcast. So, like, it's again really, really important that we're having this discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. In your opinion, do stripper stereotypes ring true to an extent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in this
stereotype.
Context. Yeah.
I mean, I became that stereotype so quickly. And it sucks because we don't want to be that. Like, for my first 5 years of dancing, I was not the stereotype. And anybody that would, come in and kind of ask for that stereotype, I would be very adamant of being like, no, we're not all like that. We're not all like that. That's not how this works.
No.
Because even during my 5 years, like, I would go on like no drinking for like 5 to 6 months.
Right. That's so good.
And I mean, to be honest, like the times when I wasn't drinking or using, I was making some of my best money.
Right. I think like you're more in control that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's, like I would get so caught up, like when I was drinking and using, like I would stay with customers who would feed me those.
Yeah.
Versus like when I wasn't drinking and I realized like, all they want to do is buy me a drink. I could pick up myself faster and go on to the next client that would give me money.
Right. Because drinks don't pay the bills.
Oh God, I wish they did though.
I know, right? That was a nice gesture.
In a penthouse.
Things would be a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
What has helped you the most in getting sober?
COVID.
And I love that. It's so true, though, honestly.
It's so true. I mean, like, so the night of my last night, I call it the last day.
The last day.
The last day, when I was super drunk and super high, and that happened a week before clubs closed.
Oh, wow.
So, and like I had just started a new job, and so like that week I was in like orientation period and like, getting set up with my new job, and so like I wasn't at the club.
Right.
And then I like was just about to put my work schedule in, and then the clubs closed.
Wow.
So it was COVID I hate to say this, but COVID has been one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
That is awesome. There's a silver lining to everything,
There is. Because, like, my goal was, like, when I got because since, you know, like 6 years, I was kind of like, okay, like, I think I've done this long enough. So I was on the verge of looking for a new job.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, with the new job, like, if COVID hadn't happened, I was still planning on being in the club.
Right.
So that, you know, I could, because I wasn't sure if the new job was going to pay my bills.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that, you know, I had that little extra cushion. But no, like, finding out that this new job pays my bills and I don't have to go back to the club and COVID happening, it's definitely been a blessing in disguise.
Total blessing in disguise, for sure. Well, I'm really glad it happened then.
Yeah.
Especially in your case.
Yes. I'll make a bumper sticker that says COVID got me clean.
Hashtag COVID got me clean.
Yes.
I love that. We'll make it happen. And we just have one more question here. So do you have any advice for those struggling in the industry?
Get out. Not to say that you can't get clean by being in the industry, but it's so much harder. It's so much harder. And not just, how do I want to word this? Stripping is essentially an entry-level job. Like, we will always be, and I hope this comes across the right way, we will always be just strippers. Like, we can't move up a ladder.
Right.
Like, now you can move up a ladder, like, as far as, like, performances go and that sort of thing.
No, I totally get that.
Okay. But it's like, where was I going with that? Oh my God, that train of thought totally lost my brain.
No, that's such a good statement to make, though, because like that's really interesting. Because yes, you can move up in terms of like, you know, touring and competitions around the world and other places like that. I get that and totally understand that. So I don't think that would be misconstrued at all. But
okay, good.
I would love you to elaborate on that. That statement.
But it's like, we as humans are so capable of doing other things. Mm-hmm. And I think the industry is great. Like, you know, like, get into the industry, go to school. Like, when I would hear girls say that they're going to school, I'd be like, stick with it.
Totally.
Because the industry is not an end all.
Right.
As much as we want to say that we can't do this forever.
And that is a really real statement to say as well. It is. Because, you know, it's a very physical job.
Oh, yeah. And mentally taxing. That
too. Like emotionally, mentally, physical, all of those things. And to me, it's just like, hey, if you break your leg or something, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
You can't really operate if something goes wrong with your body, right? So
right.
You're pretty much dependent on that. So
yes,
it's good to have other goals, or at least have long-term goals too, so you have something to transition to.
Yes, that's kind of the point that I was trying to make, was like, make sure that you have an exit plan.
Yeah, exit plan, backup plan, future goals. Yes. Doesn't hurt. So, and I completely agree with you on that. So.
Okay. Yay.
Yay. And I guess like with that, that brings us to the end of all the questions. Okay. But before I let you go, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram.
Yay.
Is that what you meant?
Oh, anywhere. Instagram, the studios you dance in, anything like that.
I'm taking online classes through Kiska, which, go Kiska.
Yes, go Kiska. I love that studio.
I do too. That studio has changed my life for the better. So yeah, I, still take online classes from Kiska. I have, like a pole in my apartment. You can find me on Instagram.
What's your handle?
Natashka Pole.
Perfect.
Natashkapole.
Perfect. We'll plug that all in the show notes below. And yeah, any other closing notes there? Anything that you want to add? Any last minute things you want to say before I let you go?
Yes, it will get better.
Thank you.
Yes, it will get better. You will. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's such a great note to end on. So thank you, Natashka, again.
Yes, thank you.
For joining me on the show. Fun. I hope it was. I really hope it was fun, therapeutic, you know, everything that you hoped it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. No, this is great.
Awesome. And I really hope to see you soon. I mean, I don't know when those borders are going to open, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. We will have to dance it out sometime.
Absolutely. And don't forget to like, rate, follow, subscribe, share, review, all the things. It is Stripped by Sia on Instagram, or also my personal, which is Sia Steph. And we'll catch you guys in for another episode next week, next Sunday, same time, same place. Thanks, Natashka. We'll see you later.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening